Hello, everyone, and welcome to our WEAAD presentation for 2022. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is held on June 15th every year, and this is our tribal WEAAD interview. This year we have Cynthia LaCounte, who is Director of American Indian, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian Programs at the Administration for Community Living in Washington, D.C. And she's going to talk with us a little bit about elder abuse and her experiences and her nearly 40 years of working with elder abuse in Indian country. And so thank you, Cynthia, for joining us today.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what got you into working with elder abuse.
Well, I'd like to say something very flowery and thoughtful, but I'm going to tell you the truth, Jackie.
Okay.
In 1985, well, actually in 1985, I worked for Great Lakes Intertribal Council in Wisconsin. Our offices were in Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin. And one Thursday night, our offices caught on fire and they burned into the ground. Like they just didn't burn to the ground, they burned into the ground. I had taken a computer home that night. That was back in the computer days. I had my tan Selectric 2 with the little ball. Remember those? That little ball floats around. I'd taken my computer home that night because I was going to do some work over the weekend. And like I said, our offices burned into the ground. I had the only computer, or I had the only typewriter. So we had equipment. Great Lakes still had equipment. We could do something. I got a call from a friend of mine named Jane Raymond, and Jane worked for the state of Wisconsin, and she ran the elder abuse and neglect elder justice programs. Jane said there was some funds available from the Administration on Aging for public awareness and education around elder abuse in Indian country. And I thought to myself, elder abuse in Indian country? Why, we don't abuse our elders. We respect our elders. They're our leaders. They teach our culture. They blah, 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 blah. So I said, yeah, we want to get in on this grant. I mean, we all felt like we had nothing. We were destitute. We want to get in on the grant. So we wrote it. And I'm still thinking, oh, this is going to be so fun because those white guys are going to talk about how they abuse their elders and all these horrible things that are going on. And we're going to get up there and we're going to be the Indians and we're going to be so prideful. And we're going to talk about our respected and revered elders in Indian country. So we applied for the grant and we were funded along with Yakima Nation and the Navajo Nation. So there was 3 programs working on public awareness and education around elder abuse in Indian country. And we adopted a theme from the Medewan Code, Ojibwa Code, respect our elders. The Yakima Nation used Don't Wound My Spirit. In Navajo, I'm sorry, but I don't remember the Navajo theme. But we were all to start talking elder abuse and neglect in our areas. So because I worked for an intertribal organization, I had to go get permission from each of the tribes in the state. And I'd been there for 4 years. They knew me by then. So most places it wasn't an issue, but it was on one reservation. And I went to the tribal council several times and asked permission. And the tribal council each time said, no, we don't abuse our elders. We're Indians. We don't abuse our elders. Well, because of the job I had at that time, I directed the foster grandparent and senior companion programs, which required 4 hours of in-service training for each foster granny or senior companion a month. So that gave me an audience of seniors who couldn't get away from me. They had to listen to me every month. And so we started talking elder abuse to them. And at first, everybody's real quiet. You know how we are, real quiet, and they're listening very politely and being thoughtful, but not a lot of conversation. Went back again the next month, and there was a little more conversation. Went back again the third month, and there was way more conversation. And they started talking about people borrowing money from them with never the intent of paying it back. They started talking about physical abuse, hitting an elder. They talked about sexual abuse, and it made me sick. They talked about knowing that Grandpa Jones over here wasn't being taken care of, but that's his problem. We're not going to worry about him, so we ignore him. And these stories started to come out. One elderly man that I absolutely adored, his name was Joe Homesky. And Joe had this shaky voice. He had Parkinson's, and he walked with a cane. And he taught Ojibwa at the tribal school in his reservation. And he talked about hearing little kids making fun of him because of how his voice shook or how slow he moved and how that hurt him. Another elder talked about he lived in an apartment complex with a long hallway, and kids would run through the apartment complex, the hallways at night, and pound on all the doors and run out the other door. Well, by the time the elder gets up and gets to the door, of course, there's no. So they talked about all these things happening. I think the thing that made me, one of the most shocking stories was about their daughters or their granddaughters or their nieces or whoever dropping kids off. Grandma, I'm going to go to bingo. You want? Can I leave the kids with you? I'll be back in 3 hours. 3 hours turns into 3 days. Grandma's giving up her bed. She's not sleeping because she's worried. She's got to feed the food that she was going to use for the rest of the month. She has to try and do homework, and she's worried. And we leave our kids there without another thought. And the elder said, that's abusive. We don't want the kids there all the time. We can't take care of them all the time. We need our own space. We don't have enough money. I mean, they told us. And then this tribe that wouldn't let me bring the elder abuse into the reservation. I presented one night at an elderly apartment complex, and it had a railing. There was a central meeting room, and then up around the central meeting room were rails and a hallway that then led off to the rooms. And there was this elderly man that's in a wheelchair that was sitting in the corner of that railing, away from the center room, but listening to every word we talked about. And he was there for the whole presentation, and he was there for the coffee and cookies afterwards, and he just sat there. And so, you're trained, there's a reason he's sitting there. He has something to say. So afterwards, I went up and talked to him, and he told me about, he was a handsome gentleman, and he had been tempted by a young girl who had a baby and needed money, and she would come in her little short skirt, and she would come to visit this man and borrow money and get money or get groceries. Pretty soon I need a car. My car broke down. I have to take the kid wherever. And so this man was getting pulled in and pulled in and pulled in. And he ended up buying her a car and giving her all kinds of money. And he realized what he was doing. And he was embarrassed, and he was angry, and he was upset, and he was shamed. He didn't know what to do. Well, it turned out that old man, his nephew was the tribal chair. So I asked him if he would please talk to the tribal chair so we could begin this programming. And one of the things that the Wisconsin tribes were able to do was to go through their tribal courts to garnish people's wages. If they work for the tribe and an elder came and said, I loan this person X amount of dollars, they'd go through the court, and whatever would happen, and they would garnish wages to get the money back to the seniors. And that old man eventually got his money back. That's how we started talking elder abuse and awareness in Wisconsin in 1985.
What happens from 1985 until 2010 in elder abuse in Indian country?
Oh, we've talked and we've talked and we've talked, and we still don't have legislation, and we still don't have funds, but we keep talking. I think we have, I think we've been successful pretty much in our public awareness and education. I think we've brought brought it out. I think the majority of the people now realize that, yes, abuse does happen to our seniors and what types and what to watch for. Some of our Title VI programs have developed a program services as much as they can without any real money. A few of our tribes are working with the states. Public Law 280 plays a role in all of this. And so we do have some tribes that work with states, but that's not an ideal situation. It's not an ideal situation to have somebody pop in that you've never seen before, that you don't know, and ask you, I hear you're being abused. Can I help you? So we've come a ways, we've made progress, but I think we've just taken itty bitty little tiny steps, Jackie. We still have, we talk about child abuse and neglect all the time, and we've got all kinds of laws on every reservation, I think, to protect our kids. We talk about domestic violence, and we have VAWA, we have the Violence Against Women Act. We worked really hard to protect our victims of domestic abuse. But we forgot that those victims can be aged. We forgot that that woman can have lived in an abusive relationship for 57 years and can't leave, but we still have to help. We forgot about the seniors. We forgot to develop a code to protect the elders and to put a system and laws and protection in place. From what we can tell, we only have there's 500 and what, Jackie, 574 federally recognized tribes. I think maybe 1/10 of them have a law to protect their elders. So we were aware, but we've got so far to go. I just found out recently, and I'm so proud, I'm going to tell the world, that one of my nieces actually developed the code on the Flathead Reservation in Montana. She was the tribal attorney at the time, and she was involved in developing that code. So that Miss Cher Stewart's name is going to start getting around by me to help us with code development.
Wonderful. And you mentioned the Violence Against Women Act, and I know it was just reauthorized. Was there anything in the new authorization around elder abuse or tribes?
Not that I'm aware of. Certainly with tribes, yes. VAWA applies to Indian country, and that's sort of primarily why it was passed to start with, was to allow tribes to prosecute everybody who abused women. But I don't think, Jackie, and I'll read it again, but I don't think there's a reference in there about elders.
I think there was, they call it abuse in later life.
Okay.
Was referred to.
Okay.
But I didn't see it under the indent portion of the act.
There's some real good people. We're working with the Department of Justice. We're working with ACL's Office of Elder Abuse Programming. We're working with all the right people to get a system in place if we can accomplish that.
So then after 2010 to now, has more been happening? Or is it just still a lot of talk?
I think it's still a lot of talk. We funded MEGI. We actually took some Title VI dollars and some AOA dollars, and we funded a National Resource Center on elder justice. I don't know what we call ourselves. National Resource Center on elder abuse at the University of North Dakota. And we gave you guys, we handed the ball to you. Here, you run with it now. You take this and you do everything, because we don't have money or time or a system to put it in place. So I truly don't think we've advanced very far, Jackie. I hate to say that.
Well, there's so much to do.
There's so much to do.
It's what do you do first?
And and I'm sure this will come in your later questions, but working with elder abuse is so tricky, because the perpetrators are usually our families. They're often a child, they're a grandchild, They're someone that we depend on for care. So do we really want to send that person to jail? Do we really want to get that person out of our house when they help us? You know, maybe they're bringing in the income. Maybe they're preparing our meals. Maybe they're my car. They're the only way I have to get any place. So am I really going to call the cops and say they're abusing me? Or am I going to be real quiet and just hope it goes away because I really need help from this person?
Are there other ways of handling things other than the legal system? And, you know, we're talking more and more about restorative justice, which actually comes out of Native communities historically,
Yes,
as far as repairing that relationship.
yes. Yeah, we don't want to punish. We just want the situation to go away and to be better. We want our home happy. We want to feel safe. And we certainly want our family members to feel safe. And I've seen some really neat programs around restorative justice. I think the first one I saw, and Jackie got to help me, I think it was at Gila River. Is that where
Odom,
Tohono? Yeah, I think it was Tohono O'odham.
the family
And
restoration program there.
yes, they had an excellent program where they actually employed a caseworker who, when there's a report of elder abuse, this caseworker goes out to the home, to the family, and they work with every single person in that home. They're not going to walk in and say, oh my word, you're a horrible person, Jacque, you get out of this house. I know what you've been doing. No, we're going to walk in and we're going to make friends with Jacque, and we're going to try and see what the situation is. And we're going to bring in help wherever we can so that we're not breaking up the family and we're not causing hard feelings. We're trying to fix the situation. And I was just so impressed with their work.
It seemed like it was in more of a deferred prosecution type of process that, you know, you follow this treatment plan, kind of like what they would do with child abuse.
Yep.
Is developing kind of a treatment plan for the whole family to get better. And as long as you follow that, great. But if you don't, then we're pushed to go and involve the legal system.
Yes. And I remember when I was there, one of the cases they were talking about was a grandma kids had been dumped on grandma. Grandma was raising children and she wasn't physically capable of doing that. And so the social worker worked between the family and the child and the system and the elder. And the solution was, grandma can't. We have to find another solution. So they spent a lot of time and a lot of energy finding the perfect solution, but it truly wasn't that they were going to be left with grandma because grandma wasn't able anymore. Yeah, it was really neat to see that working.
Is it important to have culturally relevant materials and training and resources for tribes around elder abuse?
Oh my word. You know, that's a whole lot of what I do in my work, Jackie, is try to help other agencies or even within ACL realize that we can develop a tool for the city of Louisville, Kentucky, and it's going to have all the information in that we need as tribes. But as long as it looks like it came out of Louisville, Kentucky, we're not going to look at it. We need, I'm always telling our programs, hang a feather on it or put a border around it. Do something so that it looks like it's us. And I think that's really important, not only that we claim it, so that we claim it. This is ours. It has our logo on it. It comes from Indian country. The words reflect our language. So that we can identify, we can claim the issue. But you know, I was in a session a couple of weeks ago, Jackie, with ANA, Administration for Native Americans. And there was 4 of us in a presentation. We had not talked before about our presentations, but the message from every presentation was that culture is a protective factor. It didn't matter if I was talking elders, the other one was talking children, another one was talking death of a child. We need our culture to pull us out of this. Our culture has kept us intact as Indian people through years and years and years of trials and tribulations. And somehow that little bit of culture pulled us through and taught us, reminded us, taught us how we should respond.
They put a
And
feather on it or a border on it. I say that's not enough.
that's right.
Doesn't make it Indian.
That is absolutely right. We need, and I saw something come through yesterday, maybe it was from CDC, another agency that is wanting to make some public awareness, Indian Anish, make some public awareness materials fit tribes better. And it's really fun to see that they want to put in, and it wasn't a message that said, hey, we want to put them in Indian. It was really a message that they wanted to try and put them in different languages and apply to us. But yeah, we need it to look like us, and we need it to reflect who we are, not something that we're stealing from the Asians or the white guys down the road.
And Indian faces that don't necessarily have feathers on them.
Yep.
Mhm. So what do you see as important in having culturally relevant elder abuse services in tribal communities?
Oh gosh. This is something else I was just dealing with in my job in the last day. You know, so many times, and especially now when we're talking equity, you know, President Biden, and I love President Biden, God bless his little heart. He's all about equity. He's all about remembering tribes, remember equity, get everybody involved. But what does that equity mean? Is it equity? Oh, we've got to make sure that we're taking care of the Asians and the browns and the blacks and the reds and the whatever population? Or is it, let's really make a difference? Let's look at a broken system, or on whatever those reports were from civil rights a few years ago. Let's look at what's wrong and try and fix it. And you know, Indian people have existed for years and years and years and years. Maybe we have a key. Maybe there's a way we can work with tribes that we're not. And I don't know that. I was asked yesterday to write legislation to put veteran services under Title VI. We want to get some money from VA through ACL, so they want to put it in Title VI. I said, we can't do that without talking to the tribes. The tribes need to determine where it fits in their system. I might be Indian and work for the federal government, but don't expect me to make a decision that's going to affect 574 federally recognized tribes. We have to involve the people themselves to help find the systems, to help find the cure. One thing, you know, we talk about all the time, and I get to meet a lot with tribal leaders, and some of them are just fascinating folks. But we talk about all the time that we're always, a system is developed, and oh, that's right, we got to serve the Indians. So let's pull them in and let's try and make them fit into this, into what we're already doing for the counties or for the states or the whoever else. And it isn't going to work. It is not going to work until we're allowed to develop our own programs, our own services, our own assistance, using our culture, letting our culture lead us. I'm 70 years old and I'm an Indian. I don't know what it's like to live on the middle of the Navajo reservation at 74 years of age and to need assistance. I don't have a clue what that is like.
Lines. I know a lot of federal funds bring with it, you know, using evidence-based programs. And there aren't many evidence-based programs that are culturally relevant and come out of Indian country.
No.
There are programs that evidence was collected with the majority population and then try to plop them into Indian country and make them work. And they don't.
They don't.
how can we get more evidence-based programs that come out of tribal communities that are culturally based?
Oh, Jackie, you're such a troublemaker with your questions. You know, we have an evidence-based program. We have evidence-based programs at ACL, and they're primarily for the Title III population, the non-Indian population, because of all the reasons you just said. We haven't tried them. We made some efforts to adapt evidence-based to tribes early when we first started talking evidence-based, and we couldn't because it had to be done this way at this time. You have to use these words. Don't use a tribal word to define what that system is. You're going to call it chronic disease self-management, or you're going to call it whatever, words that don't make any sense to us. And we were miserable failures. We couldn't get an evidence program to work and be successful no matter what we tried. And then COVID hit. And that was one of the good things of COVID, because all of a sudden then evidence-based realized, oh, we're not going to get everybody together at 2:00 on Thursday every week, and we're not going to go through this agenda, and we're not going to be able to do this because the world has changed. And evidence-based found out that maybe they didn't have to, that they could let folks kind of adapt the situation or the programs to meet our situation. But that still doesn't give us more evidence-based programs. I know we're working closely with the University of North Dakota, our resource center there, who has developed a fantastic wellness program, physical abuse or physical walking exercise program. We want to get that certified, but we've got to go through this path of trials and approvals and whatever. We've got some great, the Indian Health Service Special Diabetes Program. That's an evidence-based program. We've got Wisdom Warriors out of Washington tribes. That is an evidence-based program. They were able to adapt it to work with tribes, but there's only a handful of those programs. What I've been saying is, maybe we're trying too hard. Maybe we need to look at what does special diabetes program not do? They teach us to eat well. They teach us to exercise. They teach us to take our medicine when we're supposed to. They teach us to watch our weight. So isn't that really everything we want to do in evidence-based, is to improve physical and mental and social and blah, blah? Why don't we just say, we're going to work with our special diabetes program and enhance that, because that's a program that's been proven for Indian country. So I said that because I don't really know what the situation is. We're certainly trying. Know that I'm out here screaming and doing what I can to make those changes. But yeah, that's one program that has been developed and implemented without our cultural as a protective factor. We didn't get to design those.
So what's most important in the tribal communities then to address elder maltreatment?
Awareness, and I'm speaking of smaller tribes, but we know our elders. We know the situations in our communities. We know who lives with who. We know who struggles with what. For the most part, we're pretty aware of the situations in our communities with our people. And there is a time when you don't just sit back and watch. There's a time when you don't keep your mouth shut and stay out of other people's business. So I think we need to be aware of families. I think we need to be aware of our elders, and maybe to watch and listen better than we do. Maybe instead of assuming it's okay, we should question whether it really is okay sometimes. because we have some really vulnerable seniors who we're still expecting to be the heads of our families.
Think about programs like the Elder Protection Team at Warm Springs and how people are willing to go to that team and talk about things they suspect and have them check on it more so than they're willing to go like to law enforcement.
Yep.
Do things like that, or does it just really fall back into the makeup of the team or committee or program as far as staff that makes the difference?
Yes, to everything you said. Certainly, those multidisciplinary teams have been a really, really good approach, and kind of the only logical approach because we don't have any money, and the approach that's going to instantly bring in different offices and different people. And absolutely, yeah, you know, there's people that are just born to work with social service programs, and there's people that really should pick up a hammer and build a house because they don't have the empathy and the understanding to work like with families and social services the way we do. I just keep going back to, we've got to let the seniors help us plan the help they need. And we've got to, you know, I've been out here in Washington, and fittingly so, the feds are very involved in missing and murdered Indigenous people. And I'm on a couple committees with the Department of Justice, Administration for Children and Families. We talk about missing and murdered people all the time and what solutions we can offer. I'm always the one saying, don't forget the elders. Hello, we have elders who go missing too. Hello, have you ever heard of Alzheimer's? We wander and we get lost, and we've just got to be aware of each other in our tribal communities and how we can assist. One of the best, in talking about culture, I was so excited when I was down at Navajo a couple of years ago, and I saw, I mean, this is a horrible thing to be excited about, but I saw a poster written all in Navajo about an elderly man who had gone wandering. And of course, you're not excited that he's gone wandering, but you're excited that the poster is up and it's an elder. You're excited that it's written in Navajo. So it's a very cultural poster, and they're alerting people. So there's public awareness. That was really good to see. And I think that's the involvement we need.
What other things do you think we need in order to make one, to get more awareness about elder abuse in our tribal communities, two, to help address it and make a difference in changing that back to what our cultural history says our treatment of elders should be?
I think in circles. And I think in circles a lot of the time. And certainly in programs for seniors, and something like abuse that we don't even want to talk about. We don't want to acknowledge. I don't want to think that there's somebody sexually abusing an elder. My God, that's sick. But we need to, again, design systems that are going to work. We need to involve communities in designing those systems. We need to go back to our old ways where the elders are important voices in the community and they're listened to. I know we got stories about family relationships. I know we got stories about bullying and about mistreating people. Those are all our culture. Those are the ways we were raised and the lessons that we've learned. All we got to do is go back to those lessons. And talking about who can help, I'm thinking of Project Golden Shield, Jackie? Is that what it is?
Golden Shield.
Yes, out of Oklahoma. And it was actually a BIA project that Jackie and I just love because, you know, there's not a lot of community helpers in Indian country. We're all busy doing our work and we're all snoopy and we know what's going on in the community, but we're all busy. But, you know, we've got these tribal cops or the BIA cops that drive around in their pretty cars and their big black uniforms, and you see them all over all the time. Oklahoma decided not to waste that opportunity. And they had these BIA policemen or law enforcement form relationships with the seniors. I don't know if they picked a senior, if they formed a relationship with everybody, but they formed a relationship with the seniors. And they started visiting that elder. You know, when they were driving around and they had downtime, they'd stop in, they'd visit, how you doing? Thanksgiving came and they delivered a turkey. Christmas came, they delivered a gift. They took the time to form a relationship with that family, with that elder, and to get to know them so that the elder trusted them. They were suddenly not just a law enforcement officer, they were a friend. They were somebody they knew, and they knew that person cared about them. So the elder got to trust that law enforcement person, and the law enforcement person learned all kinds of things about that elder and that community and the situation that family is living in. And it has been, Jackie and I just are trying so hard to get the whole world to do Project Golden Shield projects, because that's a perfect opportunity. Just get to know that person, work with that person, take the time to learn that situation, take the time to look. You know, when I was talking abuse earlier and saying how shocked I was that it was happening, I grew up with elder abuse in my white side of my family. There was a farm and my uncles took the farm. My uncles physically abused my grandma. I believe they physically abused my grandpa. They wrote some of the siblings out of the will. They took everything. And we all knew it. We knew that was going on 5 miles to the east of our farm, but nobody said anything because it wasn't our business. I wasn't raised with a relationship with the white side of my family, and that was that. But we all knew. We all knew. And I think we weren't unique at all. I think that happens all over in this country. We all know, but nobody wants to make the difference. Nobody wants to say it, and nobody wants to cause the problem. We think we're going to be the problem if we bring attention to the situation. We're not the problem. We're not the problem. We're the helper.
And you mentioned Operation Golden Shield, and I think the thing for me is it isn't a part of their job that they do this. This is strictly voluntary.
Yep.
And they pay for it out of pocket.
Yep.
They take donations and things like that in order to provide that meal, to provide those gifts. The elders, when the officer gets ready to leave, wants to know when they're going to be back to see them.
Yeah.
And more elders want to be on that list to be visited.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been very, very popular down here, and we'd really like to get some funding in order to evaluate it, so that we can maybe get it established as an evidence-based program within community policing.
That would be excellent. And you know, we talk about oh, I forgot what I was going to say. I don't know. I was going to tell you a story.
Golden Shield or other things.
I here's what I was going to say, you know, there's a lot of steps like that we can take in our communities with our Title VI programs, with our senior programs, with whatever program. It doesn't always take money. We can do what we call phone trees in aging programs. Have all your seniors call each other. Schedule a time, say 10 o'clock every day, we're going to call so-and-so. There's going to be phone trees going on in that community to just check on each other. My friend Joe Homesky from LaCounte that I mentioned, I had an 800 number coming into my office in Wisconsin. Every morning, Joe Homesky would call me to tell me hello. And if there was a morning when he didn't call me, I would call the senior program and have them go check on him. So, we can do really simple little, let's check on each other. Let's be aware. Let's help each other. We don't have to do a formal anything. We can just, let's just go back to helping each other in our communities.
That was another one of the things during COVID, that with the isolation and everything that everybody had, because they weren't going to the senior center.
Yep.
That, how do we continue to check on and make sure everybody's okay? And do they need anything? And how can we help?
We've been wondering, I wish we had data to show what happened during COVID, what happened with abuse during COVID. I wish now that we're starting to work more with Alzheimer's programs too, I've been thinking, what correlation is there between an elder with Alzheimer's and who has a caregiver, and that caregiver becoming so frustrated and striking out at that Alzheimer's patient? What's that correlation? There's so many things we don't know.
Today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Is there anything that you'd like to tell our communities, our elders, our service providers about elder abuse that kind of brings it home for today?
I'm thinking of respect. Respect our elders, honor our traditions, community awareness. As Indian people, we are nothing without that culture. And who carries that culture for us? Those old people do. Those old people do. And they're the ones that teach those young people. They're the ones that are preparing our young people to move up. You're going to be caring for us someday. And I just keep going back to culture and the importance of our culture in everything we do in Indian country. That's how we've survived, is that inside of us and who we are, and knowing that our ancestors, knowing what our ancestors went through so that we have what we do today, and our responsibility in perpetuating that, in taking care of our communities, in taking care of our culture, in teaching that on. That's our responsibility as elders.
Our young people about respect and honor and all of that for our elders?
When I was in Wisconsin and working for Great Lakes Intertribal, and we got that public awareness grant, we're trying to think of everything we can do to get the word out in Indian country. And of course, we went to schools and let's do coloring contest about grandma or grandpa. Let's talk about, what is grandma? What things do you do with grandma? Blah, blah, blah. So it's always, do you know how much information you can put on a check or a matchbook, Jackie? You know those little matchbooks that are about this size? You can put information on the outside, you can put information on the inside, and you can put information on the back. And we did that in Wisconsin because we wanted those matchbooks left in casinos and in bars in Indian country. We wanted everybody to see that message that said, this is what elder abuse is, and this is who you call if you know what's happening in your community. We had, in Indian, we love t-shirts. Everybody wears t-shirts. Everybody likes badges. We did every campaign we could possibly. We even went to jails to educate to work with the people in jail and provide community awareness for them. You all have to do community service. Let us be your community service. Let's talk about the needs of elders. So we just blanket the community with elders and with youth and with intergenerational and with culture. that was our message. And I think that was the same message that both Yakima and Navajo delivered in their programs. Yakima's "Don't wound my spirit" meant my spirit, the inside of me, who I am. Don't hurt that. Don't wound that. And it was really a beautiful, beautiful campaign. I have some old VCR movies and a bunch of stuff from that campaign that I need to make visible or to make available to other folks. But it's all around our culture, and it's all around awareness, and it's all about remembering who we are.
Awareness is talking about it, not having it being one of those things we're ashamed of and hiding away, but talking about
Yes.
what it is and how we make it change to something else.
Yes. Yep. Yep. There's, and who wouldn't want to spend time with grandma? You know, how much fun, think about your grandmas and how much fun that was to cook with grandma and make cookies and draw pictures and play cards or do a puzzle. My best memories, some of them are my crazy grandma decorating cookies at gingerbread men at Christmas, filling up little Halloween bags with penny candy. All of those kind of memories certainly make me who I am.
I remember my brother when he was little, we would go over to our neighbor's house. He liked to go over there and crawl up in his lap and have Mr. Buckminster tell him about the olden times.
Yes. I remember asking grandma to tell me about the olden days, and she would laugh at me. Grandma, I want to hear about the olden days. One of my grandchildren wanted me to talk about the olden days, and I really laughed then.
Yeah. Now you get to talk about the olden days.
Yep.
Well, any last thoughts that you'd like to share, Cynthia?
Oh, just let's realize the power we have as Indian people and of who we are and the precious culture that we've been given and the lessons within that culture. And, you know, let's just honor our elders. Let's remember where we came from and who we are, and let's honor those elders.
Thank you very much, Cynthia LaCounte, for sharing some of your thoughts and some of the background of what's been happening in Indian country about elder abuse and how much more work needs to be done and that everybody can do something. And thank you all for joining us this year. And we invite you to come to the NEJI website at nieji.org. And we have lots of resources up there. Go to our Facebook page. We put events and things like that out on the Facebook page. And we really welcome your questions and any way that we can help you in working on addressing elder abuse in your community. Thank you and have a wonderful day.